Interesting facts about the tobacco industry, covering its history, economics, health impacts, and more. Early history and development. 1. Tobacco has been used for thousands of years, with Native Americans smoking it for ceremonial purposes as early as 1000 BC. 2. The first European contact with tobacco occurred in 1492 when Christopher Columbus was introduced to it by the indigenous peoples of the Caribbean. 3. John Rolfe is credited with introducing commercial tobacco farming to the English colonies in Virginia in the early 1600s. 4. Tobacco quickly became a cash crop in the American colonies, fueling the economy and the slave trade. 5. Nicotine was first isolated from the tobacco plant in 1828 by German chemists. 6. The cigarette as we know it today began gaining popularity in the late 19th century, particularly after the invention of cigarette-making machines. 7. The first mechanical cigarette rolling machine was patented in 1880 by James Albert Bonsack. 8. Cigarette advertising exploded in the early 20th century, with brands like Lucky Strike and Camel leading the way. Tobacco and economics. 1. The global tobacco industry generates over $800 billion in revenue annually. 2. China is the world's largest producer of tobacco, accounting for about 40% of global production. 3. The United States, once a dominant tobacco producer, now ranks among the top 10 producers but has seen a decline in domestic tobacco farming. 4. The tobacco industry employs millions of people globally, from farmers to retail workers. 5. Philip Morris International, British American Tobacco, BAT, Imperial Brands, and Japan Tobacco International are the largest multinational tobacco companies. 6. In many developing countries, tobacco farming is a major source of income despite health warnings and the global decline in smoking. 7. Tobacco taxes are a major source of government revenue worldwide, raising billions each year. 8. The World Health Organization, WHO, estimates that the global cost of smoking-related healthcare is over $1 trillion annually. 9. Tobacco bonds, issued by U.S. states based on future tobacco tax revenue, have been a controversial form of state financing. 10. Tobacco farming often involves child labor, particularly in countries like Malawi, Brazil, and Indonesia. Health impacts. 1. Tobacco use is the leading preventable cause of death worldwide, responsible for more than 8 million deaths annually. 2. Smoking increases the risk of numerous diseases, including lung cancer, heart disease, and chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. 3. Second-hand smoke exposure causes approximately 1.2 million deaths per year, according to the WHO. 4. Nicotine is highly addictive and is considered one of the hardest substances to quit, alongside drugs like heroin and cocaine. 5. Smoking during pregnancy increases the risk of premature birth, low birth weight, and sudden infant death syndrome, SIDS. 6. The average smoker loses about 10 years of life compared to non-smokers. 7. Quitting smoking at any age can significantly reduce the risk of developing smoking-related diseases. 8. Tobacco use is linked to at least 15 different types of cancer, including oral, esophageal, and pancreatic cancers. 9. In the 1950s, the first studies linking smoking and lung cancer were published, leading to growing awareness of tobacco's health risks. 10. Smokeless tobacco products, such as chewing tobacco and snuff, also pose significant health risks, including oral cancer. 11. The tobacco industry has historically downplayed the health risks associated with smoking, leading to numerous legal battles and regulations. Tobacco industry marketing and tactics. 1. Cigarette companies were among the first to use celebrity endorsements, with famous figures like Babe Ruth and Lucille Ball promoting their brands. 2. The Marlboro Man advertising campaign, launched in the 1950s, is one of the most successful marketing efforts in history. 3. Tobacco companies have targeted specific demographics, including women, teens, and minorities, with tailored advertising campaigns. 4. In the 1920s and 1930s, doctors were frequently featured in tobacco ads, falsely claiming that certain cigarette brands were recommended by physicians. 5. The use of flavored tobacco, menthol, fruit flavors, has been a tactic to attract younger smokers. 6. Sports sponsorships, including events like NASCAR and Formula One, were heavily sponsored by tobacco companies until restrictions were imposed in the 1990s. 7. Product placement in movies and television shows was a common strategy used by tobacco companies to normalize smoking. 8. Joe Camel, the mascot for Camel cigarettes, was a controversial figure for appealing to children and teens. 9. Tobacco advertisements have been banned from television in many countries since the 1970s. 10. The Tobacco Master Settlement Agreement, 1998, in the U.S. imposed significant restrictions on tobacco advertising and required payments to states for smoking-related healthcare costs. 11. In 2010, the Family Smoking Prevention and Tobacco Control Act gave the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, the authority to regulate tobacco products and their marketing. Regulatory efforts and legislation. 1. The first U.S. Surgeon General's report on smoking and health was published in 1964, leading to widespread public health campaigns against smoking. 2. Warning labels on cigarette packs were introduced in the U.S. in 1966, becoming more graphic in the 21st century. 3. Plain packaging laws, which remove branding and logos from cigarette packs, have been implemented in countries like Australia, Canada, and France to reduce the appeal of smoking. 4. Public smoking bans have been implemented in many countries to protect people from second-hand smoke. 5. The World Health Organization Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, WHOFCTC, adopted in 2003, is an international treaty aimed at reducing tobacco use globally. 6. Tobacco advertising is banned in many countries, especially in media that may reach children. 7. E-cigarettes and vaping products are regulated differently in various countries, with some governments viewing them as harm reduction tools and others as potential health risks. 8. In the European Union, cigarettes cannot contain more than 10 mg of tar, 1 mg of nicotine, and 10 mg of carbon monoxide. Tobacco farming and production. 1. The tobacco plant, Nicotiana tabacum, thrives in warm climates with well-drained soil. 2. Curing is the process of drying tobacco leaves after they have been harvested, which can take anywhere from days to months depending on the method used. 3. Flue-cured tobacco, commonly used in cigarettes, is dried with heated air and is known for its mild flavor. 4. Burley tobacco is air-cured and often used in American blend cigarettes. 5. Dark tobacco is used in cigars and smokeless tobacco products and is air-cured or fire-cured. 6. Virginia and North Carolina are the two largest tobacco-producing states in the U.S. 7. Brazil, India, and Zimbabwe are also major global producers of tobacco. 8. Tobacco farming can have serious environmental consequences, including deforestation, soil degradation, and the use of toxic pesticides. 9. Many small tobacco farmers are trapped in a cycle of debt, as they often borrow money for seeds and fertilizers from the same companies that buy their tobacco. Smoking trends and decline. 1. Smoking rates in many developed countries have been declining due to public health campaigns, rising taxes, and smoking bans. 2. In the United States, adult smoking rates have dropped from 42% in 1965 to around 12% today. 3. Despite global efforts to reduce smoking, over 1.3 billion people still smoke worldwide. 4. China has the highest number of smokers, with over 300 million people consuming tobacco. 5. In many developing countries, smoking rates are still increasing, particularly among young people. 6. E-cigarettes and vaping have become popular alternatives to traditional cigarettes, particularly among teens and young adults. 7. Some smokers in developed countries are switching to heat-not-burn products, which heat tobacco to release nicotine without burning it. Tobacco and culture. 1. Cigars were once a symbol of wealth and status, popular among celebrities, politicians, and businessmen. 2. Pipe smoking, while less common today, has a rich cultural history, particularly in Europe and among intellectuals. 3. Chewing tobacco was popular among baseball players in the US until it was banned in major league stadiums in the 2010s. 4. Hookah, water pipe, smoking, originally from the Middle East, has gained popularity globally, especially in social settings. 5. Tobacco rituals have been part of indigenous cultures for centuries, often used in spiritual and healing practices. Environmental impact. 1. Cigarette butts are the most littered item in the world, with billions discarded every year. 2. The filters of cigarettes are made of cellulose acetate, a type of plastic that can take up to 10 years, or even longer, to decompose in the environment. 2. Due to this long decomposition time, cigarette butts are considered a major environmental pollutant, contributing significantly to litter in urban areas, beaches, and waterways. 2. This slow breakdown process leads to the release of harmful chemicals, including nicotine, heavy metals, and other toxins, into ecosystems, posing risks to wildlife and water quality.